Hi, in this case study, I really want to illustrate how easy it is sometimes to get in to see a vice president of supply chain, pitch a next level thing, and actually steal all the business. In this particular case, I talked to a branch manager and I said, who are the large, uh, you know, electrical contractors in your area who really got a hand on the ball? And so we identified him and said, well, look, I'll come visit with you. I'm a consultant, so bill me as a a consultant of supply chain, whatever, and see if I can get in to see his counterpart. And so we did. He said the branch manager set it up. Um, this is a particular contractor in the Northeast that does rebuilds for the state's commuter rail system, which, in the Northeast, they've got a very congested thing, a lot of commuter trains, and this is a big business. And so they hyper focused and excelled in this area. So they're very super intense, focused niche player. And in fact, when you walk into a place like that, you can just smell the intensity, the business. I mean, everybody's focused. The place is clean. You can eat off the floors. This isn't just come to work and have a social experience kind of place. And when we went in for the visit, and the questions that I asked this guy and the answers that I got so readily really reflected what I call as the Honcho effect. So up here is a picture of two honchos, two big chiefs with all their little feather stuff, and they're intrigued with each other and impressed. It's a sort of a mutual respect, ego, curiosity phenomenon. So I said, well, if you look at your top, one, two, three, four distributors that you may buy from, and what percent of spend you give them, and why, and if you shift it a little bit over time, if so, for what supply chain economic reasons, even the kind of question I'm asking and the vocabulary I'm using is different than what the average sales rep might offer coming in. And so he was very forthcoming. He just said, well, look, actually, we call this one place first all the time. And the reason is actually that there is one lady on the inside sales desk who speaks our language. And I said, oh, when you say language, you mean all the ingredients that go into your particular commuter train rebuild things are peculiar kinds of items that have its own vocabulary. He said, yeah. I said, well, are we talking about a universe of 50 items and 24 different sort of words nomenclature? He said, yeah, it's not a big vocabulary, but nobody else seems to speak it. And I said, well, if she's on vacation or sick or whatever, who's your backup? He said, God, that's a good question. I don't think there's anybody over there. And I said, well, who is the rep that calls on your company currently from that account? He said, I don't know that there is a rep. Now, in retrospect, there may be a rep, and the rep may call on this guy's assistant who does the actual purchasing activity and work, and he just has never seen them. But he had he was aware of the lady and the language she spoke, but he was unaware of any rep at all. How ironic that would be if this competitor had a rep who was making huge commissions and frankly was not adding any value at all. And I said, well, how many estimators do you have? He said, we have a dozen. And I said, well, on these guys, when they're doing their bids, if they could do them 50% faster, would that kind of response time help you win, more jobs? And he said, well, certainly, it couldn't hurt. And the faster we can get things out and the faster we can book stuff, that keeps us all busy. So I'm intrigued. I said, well, okay, I'll tell you what. To solve this language backup problem, at my client's company, they actually have three people that I'm thinking of who, if we brought them out here and visited with some of your expediters, just pick three or four of them, spend a half day sort of flow charting how you currently do your process, to bid something and get all the input data from a distributor, this current number one supplier you have or others, and then where is there delay? We'll find time where paper is just sitting around waiting for somebody to do something, and so we'll squeeze out all of the non-people delay time. We'll make sure that we get a total vocabulary book of all your language, and all three people are fluent at it and interchangeable, so there's total backup, etc. So to make a long story short, they did give us a half-day planning session to sort of do this work, co-create it, get everybody up to speed, etc. As a result of it, the branch manager, when he followed up, he'd never done this before. It was the first time. But as a result of doing it, they went and then knocked the count off. So from zero, they went to about $2 million In direct business, I'd say at an average margin of about 10%, the average order was a good $100,000. On a math basis, there still was a 3% net profit or operating profit as a percent of sales. So 7% cost to serve. And so the company was making $60,000 in profits. The morals of this story are, because gazelles are all business, they're about innovative, they're about getting more information, they're trying to take the next level, they're willing to take risks. They're not about let's freeze the way the world is and keep doing business with the people we like on a same old basis and let inefficiencies pile up between the silos and so forth, and playing politics, etc., and feather bedding. They're all about efficiency and effectiveness. So that means that it's easier than you might suspect to get in at a honcho to honcho level because of the honcho effect up here with these two guys and their big chief bonnets. And don't assume that not only is the incumbent strongly positioned, but they can't respond to your whole next level full court press because they're just one person out there doing what they're doing and they're spread too thin over their current account base. I've had cases where I've actually given a formal recommendation written report to a target account. The target account gave it to the customer and later confessed that they had, and then switched because they were so frustrated with the fact that the customer did nothing. They just didn't respond. They kept bugging them and bugging them and bugging them because they thought they were great ideas. They'd respond and said, fine, they don't want it, here, you take it and do it. So, in a sense, they can't match a total team effort. They can't match the total team focusing intensely in just one aligned direction on one key account. Thinking organizing a tour for Federal Express in multiple cities and every one of our branch managers is a host there. That's not an easy thing, but everybody's working together to make that happen. An independent local sales rep can't respond to that. So that's a story where it just shows the power of the honcho effect, and being able to pitch a top-down, next-level solution, assuming you have one. Thank you.